If it's Friday night, oh yes it is. Strictly Sports. Hello friends, Anthony Floyer here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports. Joined as always by Girl MF Michael Platja and Michael Bullock. Let's not waste any time and let's dive right in. We have a very exciting show for all of you. So get your green beans ready and let's dive on in. Um, we start off with the big news in the NFL, of course. The Oakland Raiders are moving to Las Vegas. The NFL approving the move of the Raiders from Oakland to Las Vegas. And this was back on March 27th. NFL owners approved the Oakland Raiders move to Las Vegas at league meetings Monday, March 27th, despite a plea from the California city's mayor to delay the vote over a potential last-ditch stadium deal. The vote was 31-1. The vote was a foregone conclusion after the league and Raiders were not satisfied with Oakland's proposals for a new stadium, and Las Vegas stepped up with $750 million in public money. Bank of America also is giving Raiders owner Mark Davis a $650 million loan, further helping convince the owners to allow the third team relocation in just over a year. The Rams, as you know, moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles in 2016, and in January, the Chargers relocated from San Diego to LA. The Raiders likely will play 2 or 3 more years in the Bay Area before their $1.7 billion stadium near the Las Vegas Strip is ready, Fox 2 reported. Oakland's mayor earlier in the day asked NFL owners to delay voting on the move, wanting to give her city a chance to negotiate with a small group of owners to complete a stadium deal in the Coliseum site. Never that we knew of has the NFL voted to displace a team from its established market when there is a fully financed option before them with all the issues addressed, Mayor Libby Schaaf said in a statement. I'd be remiss if I didn't do everything in my power to make the case for Oakland up until the very end. Schaaf said the city had presented a $1.3 billion plan for a stadium at the Coliseum site that would be ready for 2021. She said the existing Coliseum would be demolished by 2024, with the Oakland Athletics baseball team either moving to a new stadium at the Coliseum site or somewhere else in the city. She also asked for owners to conduct a secret ballot on the vote, as was done last year when the league approved the Rams' move from St. Louis to the Los Angeles area. The Raiders had hoped to move back to LA, where they played from 1982 to 94, to share a stadium with the Chargers, but were rejected by the owners. Schaaf said the Raiders had refused to negotiate with the city on a new stadium since completing a short-term lease last March that gave the team options to play at the Coliseum in 2017 and 2018. The city had a deal with the Fortress Investment Group and a group led by Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott to build a stadium at the Coliseum site. Fortress would provide $600 million in a traditional loan, with the Raiders and NFL committing $500 million and the city giving $200 million for infrastructure funding. We believe that moving the Raiders will be a negative tipping point for the NFL, a group of Raiders fans said in a letter also sent to NFL owners. Thousands of fans may very well be turned off forever by what they perceive is the NFL's lack of loyalty to its most important constituents, the fans. Meanwhile, Las Vegas, long taboo to the NFL because of its legalized gambling, is getting an NHL team this fall. Excuse me, the Golden Knights. So there's your story right there. Now, I know a lot of people were very upset about it, and I can understand why. But if I'm going to be real honest with you, I think there are benefits of the Raiders moving to Las Vegas, and I'm going to share some of those benefits with you as I lead off on this. And let me just come out and say it like this. I already explained that at the owners' meeting, the 31-1 vote. While it may be devastating to fans located in Oakland and the surrounding areas, there are also some positives that arise from this situation. Las Vegas is a tourist location, and it's pretty accessible from all over the country. For example, a flight from Los Angeles to Las Vegas is only about an hour and 15 minutes. And depending on when you buy your ticket, it could be quite cheap. This will be easier for fans from all over the country to travel to the new location. This especially makes it easier for East Coast fans. Las Vegas has always been a tourist hotspot. A flight from, say, New York City to Las Vegas is only about 6 hours, while a flight from New York City to Oakland is a little bit longer and less affordable. Either way, the location of Las Vegas is easier for fans from all around the country. Also, it being very close to Los Angeles is a plus because the massive built-in fan base located there. California also currently has a 13.3% state income tax, which in turn affects players' decisions as to where they sign in free agency. Simply put, the less the state income tax, the less money players take home. Players will be able to keep $130,000 more money for every million that they make. So yes, that is very important, and I want to make sure that gets addressed immediately. Nevada currently is one of 7 states with a 0% income tax, and this alone may factor in the Raiders' favor when players are contemplating signing with the team or not, just like with the teams located in Florida, who always are acknowledged for this. This now will become a major advantage for the Raiders. The Raiders will finally get a brand new stadium that is expected to cost about $1.9 billion. This has been long awaited as they have shared a stadium with the Oakland Athletics in the Oakland Coliseum. Players will no longer have to worry about playing on a dirt field in the months of September and possibly October. The new stadium will be funded by $750 million of Las Vegas taxpayer money, $650 million from a loan that was given by Bank of America, and $500 million from the Raiders organization. And if you go on if you notice on the Oakland Raiders Twitter account, they had they posted a video of what this proposed new stadium looks like. Oh my, that is all I am going to say. If the plan goes smoothly, the Raiders will now have arguably one of the nicest stadiums in the entire league. It will be an attraction for big events, other sports, and players from other teams. While the Raiders leaving Oakland is a tough thing to cope with, especially as the team is back to being a contender, there are still some positives coming from the situation. They are still the Raiders. So that's my 2 cents on that. So I'm gonna get the link to that video. I'm gonna put it in the chat box, and I'm gonna send it to MF, and then I'm gonna message it to Michael Bullock because Bullock doesn't have access to the chat feature on his setup. So link coming at you right now, and when MF has a minute, hopefully he can check it out because that's a video that's worth seeing. Because wait till you see how this thing comes about. It is unbelievable. So that's my 2 cents on it. So I'm all for it. And benefits, people. That's what it's all about. We got to look at the benefits. We got to look at the positives out of it because that's what I am. I'm a positive person. I hate negativity of any sort. So if anybody doesn't like it, well, that's just too bad. I mean, yeah, I know the fans in Oakland may be brokenhearted about the whole situation, but these things happen. I'm sure you've heard of the old saying, things happen for a reason. Well, they wanted to change, and wow, that's all I'm going to say. So big step for the franchise, especially coming off of that great year they had a year ago. So I think this could be the start of some bigger and better things for the Silver and Black. They used to be mediocre and average for so many years. Well, they're back. Just win, baby. That's what the late, great Al Davis used to say. And his boy, Mark Davis, definitely is all in. But on this major, major gamble. So with all that being said, let's bring in good old MF Michael Fletcher. MF, I told you about the benefits, and I told everybody else about it. I sent the link to that stadium proposal video. Hopefully you'll get a chance to
I've seen it before.
Oh, you have seen it already. Okay.
I don't need to see it again. I've seen it. I was probably one of the first ones to see the stadium look. So
amazing, right?
It is amazing. No doubt about it. All right. I got a lot to say about this. And some of it's good, some of it's not so much. I could be in that minority that Anthony was talking about the benefits of this, or with the Raider fans and this and that and whatnot. So let me give you, I guess, let me play devil's advocate here more than anything else. And then you can voice your own opinion about what I'm going to say or what has been done here for the Raider Nation and whatnot. So let me tackle it like this. First off, or I should say first, is that I understand why the Raiders did it. I understand why they moved. I understand why the league approved it, because it's not only just a market deal, it's also a top dollar deal. And it's something that I know the NFL has been dying to go, and that's into the Las Vegas market. All these sports teams sees an opportunity for Vegas because of the revenue that it's going to bring, and also it gives an opportunity for these players to play in Las Vegas, the Nevada Strip, and everything like that. I think the reality of actual sports being in that stadium or being in any league coming to Vegas was really when the NHL was the first to do it. When they actually were able to have the T-Mobile Arena, set it up, and was awarded a franchise that's going to be playing next year. And at that moment, now you can call it greed, you can call it, just the stubbornness or whatnot, that this was going to be an actual thing, that this could actually happen. For the Raiders, their ultimate goal was they wanted to go back to LA. That was their ultimate goal. For some odd reason, Oakland was really steadfast. They didn't want to give them a new stadium. And any time you hear, oh, but we were setting up a stadium, this and that there was a deal in place and everything else, they're just trying to stay face. That's all it is. They're trying to stay face because the Raiders, if the city of Oakland knew that the Raiders was really pushing to leave, then Oakland should have stepped up and should have gone after, should have pushed harder to a stadium or whatever the case may be, and that would have been happening. All this would not have gone down the way it did. Now, the real people who suffer, who loses in this, is the fans. Those fans have been loyal to the Raiders from beginning to end. When they were originally in Oakland, then they moved to LA, and then when they came back to Oakland, and Oakland took them back with open arms. And yes, I get it. The teams haven't been that great. Okay, fine, but that's the NFL. That's the body of work of the team, not the city. And I do understand why the Raiders gets a little aggravated and irritated about sharing a stadium with the Oakland Athletics, but you could have done this on your own. And to basically put a whole bunch of money for Las Vegas, and that's the thing. You even said, Anthony, a part of it was from the taxpayers of Las Vegas. Then you got a loan from a big bank like Bank of America, a big corporation. And then $500 million went from the Raiders themselves. Okay, fine. For all that, build your stadium. Build the beauty of that $1.9 billion stadium that me and Anthony and I know Michael Bullock, you probably gotten to see now. Go ahead. Be our guest. But to alienate a city for your corporate greed is what kind of grinds my gears more than anything else. And granted, I'm not going to go on a rant tonight because I don't feel like it. If this was any other night, I probably would go off. You want to know why the vote was 31-1? Because Stephen Ross of the Miami Dolphins hated this idea. And yes, it was the Miami Dolphins that said no to this deal. Because he felt like if you're going to be a good owner or a good representation of the NFL, why do you need the public's money? Why are you cheating the taxpayers to throw a bill at them? And the funniest thing is, he saw what happened with the Miami Marlins deal, with the Marlins Park, and how it was $1 billion. It was more than what it was supposed to be, and the taxpayers had to pay it, and this and that, and they suffered for it. The funny thing is Stephen Ross, when he redid Sun Life Stadium in Miami, when he redid that stadium, that $500 million renovation, all new seating, the new scoreboards, and that canopy, that roof over the stadium, he paid his own money out of that. That was out of his own pockets to do. That's the right thing to do. Raiders, if you wanted this stadium so bad, if you really wanted it to stay in Oakland, why not build the stadium yourself? Why not put that God knows how many millions of dollars that you have, that you made because of Al Davis and Mark Davis? You have a trust. So you probably have a good few $1 billion in your pocket. Build a stadium in Oakland. The only reason why this happened is because you wanted out. Plain and simple. You didn't care about the city. You didn't base. You alienated the fan base, as a matter of fact. This could have been done. This is a greed of an owner who actually doesn't give a damn about a city that was lineage and greatness, and as a matter of fact, was one of the driving forces of some of your greatest players during the Oakland Raider days. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest coaches in Oakland Raiders history was John Madden. So it feels like a slap in the face to the people of Oakland, and that's what it is. When San Diego left, when the Chargers left, it was a slap in the face to them, to their fans. But at that moment, I blamed the city of San Diego because you guys stalled. You didn't want to give the Chargers a new stadium, and you had to live with that. That's on your hands. In a way, the city council or the mayor of Oakland, you're partially to blame for this, for the Raiders leaving. But I'm also going after Mark Davis as well for the greed, for the basically for your own negligence. Because you could have had a deal in Oakland. You could have stayed in Oakland, but no. You wanted it to leave. And now you've made this bed and you're gonna have to lie in it. Like I said, the ultimate losers here are the fans. The loyal, die-hard, silver and black hole. Those are the people I feel bad for because they got a franchise, their team that they've put their blood, their sweat, and their tears, and now their team just got ripped from them. And what makes this even worse, what even makes this more revolting, is that the team is not leaving for another 2 years. They want to stay in Oakland while this stadium is being built in Vegas. I mean, what? Okay. How stupid is that? How idiotic is that? You want to stay in Oakland knowing that you're leaving in 2020, but you still want to play out in that city? The city that you just stabbed in the back. Get the F out of here. You don't deserve to play in Oakland. As a matter of fact, go to San Antonio. That was one site that I hear. As a matter of fact, there's a stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada called Sam Boyd Stadium. Why not play your football games over there, Oakland Raiders? Huh? Why do you need to give the misery to all these people to have them know that in just a matter of years, you're leaving and you're never coming back? As much as I want to say more to this, I'm not. All I can say is, yes, there is some upside. You know, no taxes or no income tax, state income tax in with the Raider in Las Vegas. Yes, that would be great. But a lot of the players didn't want to leave, or they don't want to leave. They felt comfortable in Oakland. They know what it was. Dave Carr said it. Amari Cooper said it. How he feels bad for the Raider fans, for the city of Oakland, that this has happened. Let me tell you, it's not just one thing. But think about this. These players has to now think about their families being uprooted. These are wife and children that's so familiar with the Oakland area, and now they have to possibly pack up, go to another city, and this was the same problem the LA Rams had when they went from St. Louis to Los Angeles. And that's going to be the same problem that the Chargers are dealing with right now, going from San Diego to LA. But as a matter of fact, they're going to be okay because it's in California. But from California to Vegas, that's a big step. That's a big move for them. I don't feel as comfortable or as happy as the next person is, because I feel like it's just a body shot. And when it's corporate greed, corporate, whatever, it kind of takes under and it really burns me up. that this happens. That's why I commend guys like Robert Kraft, who was willing enough to stay in their city, build their stadium so that they don't have to move. If the Raiders were smart, they would have done that. But they're not. They're stupid idiot mutton heads who only thought about the bottom dollar instead of the loyalty of their fan base. Take it for what it's worth. If I had a list, the Raiders would be on that list right now. Mark Davis would be on that list right now. This is not honorable football, ladies and gentlemen. This is a highway robbery, a collusion, and downright just greedy bastards trying to make a buck off the everyday man. Imagine what the ticket prices are going to be like at that new stadium in Vegas. Imagine what the concessions are going to be like over there. That's the worst thing that can happen. There are no winners in this. Just a whole bunch of losers. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Wow. I don't even know how to follow that. I don't even know if I can, but I'm gonna try my best. But yeah, yeah, I mean 31-1 with the the vote. I'm pretty sure when Raider fans heard about this, they were like heartbroken. So, I'm happy for the for the for the city of Las Vegas. Imagine what that's going to be like with. The tourism there is definitely going to be going up in the, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands. But like you said, the real losers in this are the fans of the Oakland Raiders. They've been cheering on their city they've been cheering on that team for a long, long time, and now to find out that this team is basically leaving them, and I do agree. I blame Mark Davis for this. He could have used some of that money to build to build the stadium and keep the team in Oakland. But no, he decides to stab the fans in the back and says, "Go screw yourselves. We're going to a city like Las Vegas, and we're going to have football there." And I agree with Fletch. The biggest mistake was for them to stay there for 2 years in Oakland. That is the ultimate slap in the face. You're literally rubbing it in on the fans of Oakland. You're going to make them suffer for 2 years. So, you want to know what I would do, guys? You want to know what I would do if I was an Oakland Raider fan, knowing that the Raiders are going to be still playing there for 2 years? You want to know what I would do? I wouldn't even bother buying a ticket to see an Oakland Raider game. They need to send a message to the Raiders ownership of how upset they are that this team that they've rooted on for is leaving for Las Vegas. And if the Raiders owners, including you, Mark Davis, don't like it, well, that is too damn bad. You screwed the fans, and now they should screw you over. by maybe not even going to a game. And that's what I think Raider fans should do. Period. And a quotation and a statement. And to you, Mark Davis, and like you just said, for stabbing Oakland Raider fans in the back, like you just did, you want to know what happens? Like Fletcher just said,
What happens?
you just made the list.
Damn right you made the list.
You stupid idiot mutton head. And go screw yourself, Mark Davis. Nothing else to say. Move on, Florio.
Nothing more to say? I got something to say about it. No green beans for you. Simple as that. So, no green beans.
Yeah, he got advice from his father, Al Davis.
I guess greed runs in the family. That's all there is to say about that.
Yeah,
Corporate
and you know
greed.
how much I am about people who are greedy. I hate it.
So do I. And you know what, Michael Bullock? That's a great idea. Let me be real honest with you. How about a boycott? Simple as that. Boycott it. I don't care how good your team is. You want to make these fans suffer? If I was a fan, I'd boycott, and I would get off, and I would jump as far off of that bandwagon as I possibly could, and I'd go to a team that does business the right way, with integrity, and honor, and justice.
And you know
Simple as
what?
that.
I think they should even bring up the fact that we're glad the New England Patriots beat you in that tough little game.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Bullock. Give me a break on that. Don't even get me started with that tuck rule game. You just set me into a ticked off ranting range.
This is just a way to get back at the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, but come on,
Unnecessary.
that
That
no
was a
man,
great
that's
point.
that's a low shot. Come on.
Yeah, I agree with MF. That was a trifle unnecessary, Bullock.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I'm just so upset with the way
I understand.
they're doing it. I let my anger and my frustration
No,
get the
but-
best of me.
No, and I
I'm
get
sorry.
it. I'm frustrated. I was very upset, and I'm still upset that the Raiders did this.
Yeah,
And
but there's a right way and a wrong way, and I went the wrong way.
no, but the thing is that look at what happened with the Patriots a few years ago, way back in 1997. You know, Anthony and we were all over this, and it was that the Patriots were looking for a new home. There was talk about them going to Hartford, Connecticut. Then we almost had a deal in place for them to possibly be moving to Providence, Rhode Island. But the governor, Lincoln Ullman, blocked it. He destroyed the deal, saying that you weren't going to use the taxpayers' money, which at the time, what we didn't think, we were thinking, oh my God, that's an idiotic move. Think about this. Now, in hindsight, Ullman was absolutely right to do that. He was a genius for doing that. And I'm going to give Lincoln Ullman a lot more credit than he deserved, because when I was younger, I thought it was a horrible move, because I thought, oh my God, we just lost the Patriots. But for what Robert Kraft did, he went back to Foxborough and he ponied up a portion of the money. At least, I think he put down at least half the money. The city of Foxborough came up with the other half. And then, of course, you had donations from other organizations, other companies. And they were able to build Gillette Stadium right on that Foxborough Stadium property. There was nothing wrong with that. We all were happy with that. We all were pleased with that. Stephen Ross, again, I'll even reiterate it. He put $500 million to $750 million of his very own money to resurrect, turn, and create Sun Life Stadium in Miami. So, or now what's called Hard Rock Stadium. I'm still so used to calling it Sun Life, but it's actually now Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. But they put their own money. They put their own money. They put the money where the mouth was, and they actually stepped up, made the stadium, and didn't use any public funds. That's why the 31-1 vote happened, because the Dolphins believe, hey, Raiders, you want to build a stadium? You build it with your own money. You got enough money to build it. Do it. Don't put the public interest at heart. Don't make them feel the burden of a bill of a stadium that maybe Las Vegas does not want. We don't know if they wanted this stadium or not. We will never know until it happens. But that's where the anger lies. And that's why I went off the rant that I did. Now, Florio made valid points about that this was a necessary thing to do. The players are going to benefit, and the city is going to get a shot in the arm. Absolutely. I totally agree with Anthony. But there's also a human side to this. And that's where I thought the Raiders were in the wrong.
Okay. So
All right.
All right, so a lot to be made about it, but just to put the matter to bed once and for all. Kurt Angle has 3 eyes. We all know what those 3 eyes are: integrity, intelligence, and intensity. Clearly, Mr. Davis and these stupid idiot muttonheads in Oakland clearly don't know the meaning of those 3 words. But then again, there's a lot of words they don't know the meaning of. So that's simple as that. So. All right. So with that being said, let's move on here. And unfortunately, we have to get into another nonsense story here, but it is what it is. Uris Familia from the New York Mets. He's in trouble again. Yeah, shocking. What else is new? Speaking of stupid idiot muttonheads, well, more than a stupid idiot muttonhead. Here's a freaking coward as far as I'm concerned. His conduct on Halloween will cost him 2+ weeks to start this 2017 season. He was handed a 15-game suspension without pay last Wednesday, March 29th, for violating MLB's joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy, according to the commissioner's office. In ruling, he found no evidence Familia physically assaulted or threatened wife Bianca Rivas. Commissioner Rob Manfred indicated he still felt compelled to issue the pitcher a suspension. The evidence reviewed by my office does not support a determination that Mr. Familia physically assaulted his wife or threatened her or others with physical force or harm on October 31, 2016, Manfred said in a statement. Nevertheless, I have concluded that Mr. Familia's overall conduct that night was inappropriate, violated the policy, and warrants discipline. Familia has agreed not to appeal the suspension, which begins opening day and would run through April 19th if the team does not have any postponements. Familia was arrested on Halloween after Rivas called 911 from their New Jersey home. Police report indicated Rivas had scratches to her neck and a bruised cheek, but the case was dropped when she refused to testify. Familia's punishment is lighter than the 52-game ban Jose Reyes received last year after he was arrested on domestic violence charges. It also is lighter than the 30-game suspension Aroldis Chapman received after he allegedly fired gunshots and choked his girlfriend. According to an industry source, Familia and his wife contend the scratches to Rivas' neck were caused by their young son. And Familia claimed the bruise to Rivas' cheek was the result of the player forcing open a bedroom door that struck her during an argument. It is clear that Mr. Familia regrets what transpired that night and takes full responsibility for his actions. Manfred said, adding that Familia has already gone 12 90-minute counseling sessions. Further, he has agreed to speak to other players about what he has learned through this process and to donate time and money to local organizations aimed at the prevention of and the treatment of victims of domestic violence. Familia released a statement in which he acknowledged acting in an unacceptable manner, but said he didn't physically assault or threaten his wife. I am terribly disappointed in myself, Familia said. I am alone to blame for the problems of that evening. My wife and I cooperated fully with Major League Baseball's investigation, and I have taken meaningful steps to assure that nothing like this will ever happen again. I have learned from this experience and have grown as a husband, a father, and a man. Among the issues the MLB Players Association and the Commissioner's Office had to navigate, according to a source, was the possibility Familia would be suspended at least 31 games, potentially delaying his free agency a year because of lost service time. As it stands, Familia can become a free agent after the 2018 season. The suspension will cost Familia about $687,500 in lost salary. The Mets indicated they are on board with the ruling. The Mets fully support MLB's domestic violence policy, the discipline handed down today by Commissioner Manfred, and the decision by Uris to accept his penalty without an appeal, the club said in a statement. Addison Reed will move into the closer's role during Familia's suspension, but manager Terry Collins is less certain about the eighth inning, with Fernando Salas, Hansel Robles, and Josh Smoker among the options to handle those duties. We knew something was going to happen. We planned on it, Collins said. We did not know the length of the suspension, so I would have to say I agree with the statement. We support the program, and to be honest, we are very lucky it wasn't more. We'll take it, and we'll move ahead. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I'm happy that in 15 games, he will be back. MF, your thoughts on all that?
Well, okay. I applaud Major League Baseball for stepping up and doing the right thing. You know, even though it looked like there was no physical contact or anything else, you know, based off the evidence that they got or anything else, they feel like, look, he made a mistake. Maybe it was alcohol induced or whatever. But I think we can all agree. You never, ever, ever should put your hands on a woman. I think we've said that once. We'll say that a million times. We do not, in no particular way or circumstance, condone the actions of Familia. That is basically, like you said, a coward thing to do. It's an idiotic thing to do and should never happen at all. In this case, Major League Baseball believed that Familia did not do any, or they don't believe that Familia has done anything, that he did not assault his wife or in this instance or anything like that. But because of his actions on Halloween, he deserves to be suspended. I agree. If it was one of those type of instances, then that is perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with it. But I totally get, you know, this is conduct detrimental because of the fact that what you got arrested. That's a black eye to Major League Baseball. That's a black eye to the New York Mets, and it is an embarrassment. Now, I believe Familia's statement was contrite. I think it was believable. And that's why I'm not going to rage over this topic. And moreover, you know, for the fact that his wife never really testified against him, actually was not even cooperative with the cops at that point, meaning that maybe it was just an argument that just kind of blew up out of proportion, and you know, it was much to do about nothing. Even though domestic violence is not a joking matter, it's not a laughing matter, it's not something that you can just sweep under the carpet. This is a very serious charge, and I believe that, you know, even though nothing happened to him with charges in baseball or in the court of law, but the public perception is going to be a lot different. The court of public opinion will be a lot different. You know, even though not, it could have been the littlest thing, but once you hear the words domestic violence, it's gonna rub us the wrong way, and then we're thinking, what on earth happened? But here's another thing, and this is very important. There was no video. There is no there was no photos of any bruising or anything like that. So it's all hearsay, which is also a very dangerous, slippery slope that we need to be very careful on. Because, I mean, with the stuff that happened with the Oklahoma player, we saw it in video. We saw what happened. With Ray Rice, we had video and we saw everything that happened. So we saw with our very own eyes what happened, and the backlash and everything was justified. This, we gotta be very careful how we react to a situation like this. So Familia's wife doesn't press charges, and he comes out on media and says how sorry he is and sounds legit, sounds contrite. So, I mean, we could say, okay, we'll let you off. We might give you a pass. However, if there is more information or more stuff that comes out of this, then we can reserve judgment on a later date. Like I said, we do not and will not and will never condone domestic violence. Does not matter if it's a man to a woman or a woman to a man. There is no double standard when it comes to this. When it's with myself and my crew. We do not condone domestic violence. Period. End of quotation. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yes, I 100% agree with you on everything you just said, Fletch. I mean, all of us here at Strictly Sports, we don't tolerate domestic violence. I mean, it just rubs us the wrong way when we hear domestic violence. And I mean, it's just reprehensible for what Familia did. And so, yeah, I mean, like you just said, you never put your hands on a woman. I mean, it's just wrong. It's disgraceful. It's stupid. And yeah, and I applaud Major League Baseball for what they did. I mean, they said, look, you decide to put your hands on a woman like that, we're going to suspend you for 15 games. So I commend Major League Baseball for what they did here. So yeah, any man who hurts a woman, you're not a man. You're a monster, as far as I'm concerned. So I hope Familia will learn from this suspension, but he made his bed, and he's gonna have to lie on it with this stupid thing he did for the rest of his life. Like I said, I cannot, and will not tolerate domestic violence. Done. Period. End of quotation. End of statement. And to all the men who have hurt their women, go screw yourselves. Florio, it's yours.
And I will make that unanimous and absolutely spot on about it. I mean, yeah, you can say that, you've learned from it and you say that you're going to be a better man, a husband, a father, what have you. To me, I say this. I'll believe it when I see it. That's all I'm going to say. I don't buy it one bit. So until I see proof of that,
He's probably going to
back it
do it
up.
again.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the best thing to say is it's more like this: action speaks louder than words. Let's say
Amen.
that.
Amen. You're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. And as we always say here on this show, any man who hits a woman, well, you're a coward, plain and simple. So that's all there is to it. We have no tolerance for domestic violence of any sort. And of course, we're proud to say that we're advocates against domestic violence. We always have been, and we always will be. And if the situation calls for us to have to advocate for it, like we're about to right here and now, we're going to do it. It's not because anybody told us to. It's because we feel it in our hearts. We're like the real life version of the Shield. You remember what the Shield stood for. They were hounds of justice. And they always took action against injustice. There's no bigger injustice in our society today than domestic violence. And thankfully, the three of us have never had to endure or witness any acts of domestic violence, within our families and all that. Thank the Lord for that. But unfortunately, we've had to see these acts of cowardice and acts of treachery. We've had to deal with these acts, not just in the world of sports, but also in the world of pop culture and entertainment and the whole 9 yards. But unfortunately, we've had to deal with it. And unfortunately, there was nothing we could do. Well, bunch of malarkey, bunch of BS. All you can do, really, if you see an act of domestic violence, you report that sucker immediately. That's all there is to say about it. And we here at Strictly Sports, we take this very seriously. Yes, we do have fun on this show at times, but there's a time to have fun, and there's a time to be serious. And right now, this is the time that we have to be serious.
And you've seen the commercials for domestic violence.
Indeed.
And if people think those are just pictures, those are things that really happen.
Get your facts and come back and see us.
Yeah. So if you see someone or someone, or you're in a bad relationship, get out of there, because you don't want to be the next victim that dies from something like this,
or gets hurt very seriously.
Exactly. And I mean, and if a friend notices something that's going on, report it immediately.
Yeah, because if you don't, you're only making it worse. That's all there
exactly.
is to say about it.
I mean, you're making it worse for the person for the victim.
I'll just sum it up here. I'll just say it like this. There's a lot of places you can go. I mean, there's a lot of I could tell you about several standout groups that are stopping domestic violence in this world today. I mean, it's in the month of October. I mean, the month of October is known as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It shouldn't be just for 1 month. This should be all year round. Every month should be National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It may not be a comfortable topic domestic violence is incredibly common, both in the U.S. and around the world. To help bring attention to this important issue and the people working hard to do something about it, I found a list. I found a list of organizations that work to assist survivors, develop legal policies, and educate people about domestic violence and what we can do to end it. And that's what it is. And, you know, there's a lot of ways to check it. And I don't know if you know this, but let me give you the some stats about this. Nearly 1 in 4 women in the U.S. reports experiencing violence by a current or former spouse or boyfriend at some point in her life. On average, 3 women are killed every day as a result of domestic violence. More than 40% of female murder victims are killed by their husbands or boyfriends. Data collected in 2005 found that women experience 2 million injuries from partner violence each year. Women ages 20 to 24 are at the greatest risk of experiencing non-fatal, intimate partner violence. They also experience the highest rates of rape and sexual assault. More than 80% of victims of domestic violence are women. About 75% of the people who commit domestic violence are male. Shocking. Yeah, right. Women who have experienced domestic violence are much more likely to have a stroke, develop heart disease, develop asthma, and drink heavily than women who haven't experienced domestic violence. Sexual and domestic violence is also linked to a range of reproductive health issues, including sexually transmitted infections and HIV, miscarriages, and risky sexual health behavior. In short, domestic violence affects the health of individuals, families, and communities. Luckily, there are a host of organizations working to eliminate violence through a wide range of perspectives and methods. And I'm going to post another link here. There's a list of 20 in alphabetical order that support survivors and spread awareness of domestic violence. And this, you've seen the commercials, you've seen the No More PSA campaigns. We need to do our part to make sure that this disease, that the disease that is domestic violence is once and for all eradicated from this world today. This is one of the many reasons why this world is such a horrible place to live in. And I'll be damned if I'm just going to stand back and let this continue to get worse. This is an epidemic. This is a plague, for goodness sakes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know about any of you folks out there. But the 3 of us, as well as anybody who is a part of this Strictly Sports team, we're not going to just stand back and let it happen. We are going to be advocates, and we are going to do our part to make sure that once and for all, there'll be no more acts of cowardice, no more acts of this. And well, I'm going to post the link. I'm going to send it to MF, and I want to make sure that once and for all, this will never ever be an issue again. And we are going to keep fighting the good fight until once and for all, this is done.
Amen.
There's no place for it.
Amen.
No place.
Amen to that.
We're the real life shield of justice. And it's about time we started acting like it. So I posted the link in the group chat. MF, do your wonders with it. So that's all there is to say on that. So we're just going to so hopefully this message will get spread once and for all. And I'm going to pray that in the name of our good Lord, in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I hope and pray that one day this disease will be forever eradicated. Period. End of quotation, end of statement, and that's it. You want to try this Shield of Justice? Try it. Try us. You want to try us? We're going to try back. Simple as that. All right. With that being said, I know it's hard to move on from something like that. I mean, that's something that we could go on. I mean, we could do a special awareness show altogether, but we're here to talk sports here, guys. And now, thankfully, for the rest of this show, there will be no more Noggin Diva BS that we have to cover here. Now we're going to get into the much lighter stuff and why we do what we do here every week. So with that being said, let's get into the NCAA tournament. And we're going to talk about both the men's and the women's tournament. And we're going to start with the men's tournament, which concluded this past Monday night with North Carolina, the North Carolina Tar Heels, winning their 6th national championship in their illustrious history, defeating Gonzaga in the national championship game this past Monday night at University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, as seen on CBS. Final score in that one, I believe it was 71 to 65. 71 to 65. North Carolina defeating Gonzaga, earning the North Carolina Tar Heels their 6th national championship in their illustrious history. Second national title game in the last 3 years, and the 8th overall to be played between two number 1 seeds. North Carolina won it by a final score of 71 to 65. A combined 52 free throws were shot in this game. Mind-boggling. I mean, each team shot 26 free throw attempts apiece. And it was Justin Jackson who led the way. Well, actually, it was Joel Berry, or should I say most outstanding player, Joel Berry, who led the way for North Carolina with 22 points to go with 6 assists and 3 rebounds. Justin Jackson contributing with 16 and 4 rebounds and 3 assists. Isaiah Hicks, 13 and 9 rebounds. Kennedy Meeks, 7 points with 10 rebounds. And for Gonzaga, Nigel Williams-Goss, their star player, led the way with 15, along with 9 rebounds and 6 assists. Josh Perkins with 13 and 3 assists and 2 rebounds, and their big man, Zemek Karnowski, 9 points and 9 rebounds with a block. And Jonathan Williams with 9, Zach Collins with 9. And the numbers here, the field goal shooting, not really all that impressive. North Carolina only shot 35.6% from the field. Gonzaga, 33.9%. 3-point attempts, that was all Gonzaga. They were 8 out of 19 for 42.10%. And North Carolina, 14.80%, 4 out of 27. The free throw attempts, Gonzaga was slightly better, 17 out of 26 for 65.4%. And North Carolina, 15 out of 26, 57.7%. The rebounding edge just barely went to Carolina, 46 to 44. 15 to 11, Carolina had the assists. Steals, all Carolina, they had 7 steals to only 2 for Gonzaga. 8 blocks for Carolina, only 5 for Gonzaga. Both teams committed 22 personal fouls apiece. But here comes the most telling number of them all. North Carolina only committed 4 turnovers as a team. Gonzaga committed 14. Sounds like a major difference to me. So North Carolina winning their 6th national championship. That is now 3rd all-time, only behind Kentucky, who has won 8, and, of course, UCLA with their 11. So that's pretty much all I can say on that. So congratulations to Roy Williams and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Once again, national champions. First title in 8 years. Their last title came back in 2009 when they knocked off Michigan State at Ford Field in Detroit. So to all the fans and all the fellow North Carolina alumnus, congratulations to the North Carolina Tar Heels, your 6th national championship. My heart breaks for Gonzaga, I'll be honest, because I'm an underdog kind of a guy, but hey, North Carolina, man, they did it. So congratulations to them. I gave you all the schematics. So Michael Bullock, let's kick off our recap here with you here. North Carolina defeating Gonzaga 71-65 on Monday night. 6th national championship for Roy Williams and company. So Michael Bullock, your thoughts on North Carolina winning this their latest national championship, and what a great tournament altogether.
It certainly was, and don't forget, it was a redemption for North Carolina because remember last year they had their hearts broken when of course Villanova hit that winning shot at the buzzer to win the national championship. So it's a little bit of redemption for them. So yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, the North Carolina Tar Heels, another national championship coming to Chapel Hill. Yeah, and definitely a great job by Roy Williams and his staff for what they. What a game yeah, excuse me. Yeah, for North Carolina, I mean, you had Barry II, like you said, leading the way with 22 points, and Jackson with 16, and yeah, yeah. I mean, So basically, I mean, just trying to. I know you covered everything, and I mean, like you said, I mean, Gonzaga basically shot from almost 34% from the field, and 35 for North Carolina. So yeah, and they had the edge. North Carolina had the edge in field goals made. Of course, the field goal percentage. I mean, Gonzaga, they actually made more three-pointers than North Carolina in that one. So, yeah, you had to give the edge to to Gonzaga in that one. The free throws, Gonzaga as well, and Gonzaga even had more total rebounds. But the thing is, North Carolina edged down Gonzaga in the offensive glass. So, and of course, they did really good defensively with the 7 steals and also 8 blocks. And so, yeah, I mean, this was, I mean, like I said, congratulations to North Carolina on another national championship. So, with that being said, Florio, your thoughts on this national championship for North Carolina?
Well, definitely happy for them and their organization, no doubt about it. Including the alumnus, Michael Jordan and James Worthy and all these other legends that have come out of North Carolina. And of course, most importantly, to the fans of North Carolina, MF's father, your dad, MF, well documented how huge of a North Carolina fan he is. I know for a fact he was probably celebrating Monday night, and my good friend from my job, his name is Louis Rosa. Yeah, no doubt about it. He's celebrating as well. He was very happy. We talked about it a little bit on Tuesday morning on the job, and yeah, I remember the very first words he said to me about it was like, hey, Tony, we won. I'm like, yeah, you did, man. You did. North Carolina. But he did say, though, that the game was not the prettiest game. But I also told him in response to that, we have a saying on this show that we always like to say, a win's a win. Take it any way you can get it. And they took it, and they took this win, like they could. I mean, the game may not have been the prettiest game. I mean, 52 total free throws. I mean, 26 apiece. I mean, definitely an ugly game shooting wise as well. I mean, you heard the numbers I just posted. Neither team made it to 40% field goal shooting. What does that tell you? I mean, 35.6 for Carolina, 33.9 for Gonzaga. I mean, the 3-point shooting was all about Gonzaga. And Carolina still won despite shooting only 4 out of 27 from 3. And it was, like I said, the turnover battle. That was the difference. Carolina only commits 4 turnovers, whereas Gonzaga committed 14. That was the quiet difference maker in that one. And that's why North Carolina got their redemption from a year ago. A year ago, they had their hearts ripped out. Chris Jenkins with that 3 that gave Villanova the national championship in what was the greatest national championship game to this day, and it still is. This year was nowhere close to that, but but it was still a fine. It was still an okay game for what it was, and it was still a fun tournament. And the national title game may not have been, that 5-star classic we were hoping for, but still, March Madness still gave us plenty of memories and everything else. And like I said, congratulations to North Carolina, Roy Williams, and all of those legends that played for North Carolina. And of course, there's one legend that's smiling down on his protege right now, and that's the late great Dean Smith. I mean, Roy Williams' mentor, and he's grinning from ear to ear, and he's probably saying, "Well done, my son. Well done." That's how you do it. Dean Smith led North Carolina to 3 national championships. Roy Williams has now led North Carolina to 3 national championships. Well, actually, I think he actually surpassed his mentor, because Roy Williams won it in 2005, beating Illinois, 2009 beating Michigan State, and now this title over Gonzaga, a very game Gonzaga team. I mean, they got nothing to be ashamed of. This was far and away the greatest year in the history of Gonzaga basketball. They finally removed the Cinderella label once and for all. They're now a contender, no doubt about it. And I know we'll hear more from them next season, no question. And Mark Few and company. Mark Few was, I believe Mark Few was voted the coach of the year in the AP. Well deserved and rightfully so. I mean, only 1 regular season loss. That came in the season finale against BYU. And they won the West Coast Conference tournament. Their second number 1 seed in school history. And they go all the way to the national championship game. My heart breaks so much for them. I really wanted them to win this one. And also for another one of my colleagues on the job, Scott Hoyle, who I don't believe he's a Gonzaga fan, but he picked them in his bracket group to win the national championship. But I know that feeling, coming so close. You say, oh, you say, okay, I think this team will win the national championship. There have been quite a few instances where I have, come up just 1 game short. I'll admit it. 2005, I had Illinois winning the national championship, but North Carolina thwarted that effort. And I'll give you 2008. I had Memphis winning the national championship, but Mario Chalmers in Kansas put the big kibosh on that. So that's really all there is to say on that. So I know how Scott Hoyle is feeling. So to come so close and be yet so far away. But nonetheless, Carolina was the better team, and to all those alumnus, and of course, those two standout fans that I know, MF, your dad, who I know, who, as we all know, big North Carolina fan, and of course, my buddy from the job, Louis Rosa, who I know is still very much happy about it, and I believe he informed me that he was also planning on getting some championship gear as well. So wouldn't surprise me if he did or does. So congratulations, North Carolina Tar Heels, on a well-deserved 6th national championship. And Roy Williams now goes down as one of the great coaches in college basketball history. 3 national championships. Well done, my friend. Well done. So with that being said, MF, let's bring you on in. Let's get your thoughts on North Carolina's 6th national championship. And I know for a fact, your old man I'm sure your old man probably went through the roof over this.
Oh yeah, he was really uncertain going into the tournament after the way North Carolina flamed out in the ACC tournament. He's like Mikey, I don't think we got it. But he never gave up hope. He always believed that they were going to win it. And yeah, he's through the moon right now, knowing that his team, the Tar Heels, are once again the national champions. And I'm happy for him too. As much as I'm a begrudging and loyal, diehard, true blue of the Duke Blue Devils, as much as it pains me to see Carolina cut down the nets and crowned once again national champions. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling when an ACC team wins the national championship. We've gotten to see many ACC teams win the national title. Like you said, Carolina's got 6, Duke's got 5. Maryland was in the ACC and they won. NC State, I think we all could remember that miracle Wittenberg, basically the prayer and the dunk heard around the world in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that pretty much knocked out Phi Slama Jama and Houston back in '83, which was undoubtedly probably the greatest moment in ACC basketball and the greatest moment in history. And I mean, there's other teams, there's really nothing else to say. It's just, look, the Tar Heels wanted it. And it was a back and forth game. It was a great game. But once we got down to the final minute, that big block by Carolina that pretty much drove the lane, there was the foul, and then Carolina just drained their free throws. Yes, it wasn't the best national championship game. It's not the most memorable because, it was just horrible. Bad shooting night all the way around for both teams. Neither team could really hit a shot. And, I'm happy for Carolina. They deserve it. They earned it. So nothing more to say. Anthony, let's go over to the women's game and let's talk about something that I think none of us even thought was even possible.
Oh, no, indeed not, MF. You're absolutely right. As we move over to the women's game, the unthinkable happened. Here we were, the three of us, going into this women's tournament, or as we've been calling it the last few years, or as I've been jokingly calling it, the UConn Invitational. UConn didn't win. Oh, no. They did not win. UConn got beat. They're mortal. Oh, they are mortal, all right. Mississippi State in the Final Four. I believe it was last Friday night. Yeah, last Friday night. The Mississippi State Lady Bulldogs did the unthinkable. And they pulled off what I consider the greatest upset in the history of the women's tournament. Yes, this is even bigger than when number 16 seed Harvard knocked off number 1 seed Stanford in 1998. This is even bigger because of the dominance of the UConn women, who going into that game had won 111 consecutive games in a row. They hadn't lost a game since November of 2014 when they lost to Stanford, in Palo Alto. 111 games and I believe 2 national championships later, Gina Auriemma's band of talented women finally met their match. They're mortal, folks. Mississippi State is the one in 111-1, if you know what I mean. Using the infamous Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar thing. This is definitely like Brock Lesnar when he ended the streak of The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. I mean, it definitely has that feel. I mean, what a game. I mean, last Friday night in Dallas, Morgan Williams, her name will be forever etched in women's college basketball history when she knocked down the game-winning shot at the buzzer to defeat the most powerful entity in women's college basketball history. The UConn women are like, you can compare them to the likes of the New York Yankees, to the likes of the Montreal Canadiens, the New England Patriots, and the Alabama football. These national powers that practically, dynasties, if you will. UConn is forever a dynasty. Say what you want about Gina Auriemma and say what you want about the UConn women, but they did it with style, they did it with grace, and they did it, and, they were taking names and, basically in the immortal words of the late, great Rowdy Roddy Piper, they kicked ass and chewed bubblegum, and they were all out of bubblegum, if you know what I mean. So that meant they were basically kicked a lot of but nonetheless, UConn's record 111 game winning streak ended last Friday when Mississippi State pulled off the biggest upset in women's basketball history, shocking the Huskies 66-64 on an overtime buzzer beater. Morgan Williams, her name, like I said, her name now will forever, she'll forever be known as a giant killer. That young lady is going to remember that moment for the rest of her life. And while I'll be honest, I was hoping they would win that national championship. After beating UConn, they deserved to win the national championship. But sadly, they did not win the national championship. South Carolina captured the title by defeating Mississippi State this past Sunday night, 67-55. And Asia Wilson named the most outstanding player in this women's tournament. Final Four all-tournament team on this side, Asia Wilson and Alicia Gray from South Carolina, Morgan Williams and Victoria Vivians from Mississippi State, and Gabby Williams from UConn were voted the all-tournament team. But South Carolina winning the women's national championship. Dawn Staley, you remember she was one of the standout players in the early years of the WNBA, mainly back in the days of the Charlotte Sting, and she has developed into one of the best women's basketball coaches I've seen. I mean, you saw her work at Temple, and now what she's done with South Carolina, leading them to their first ever national championship, defeating Mississippi State 67-55. Asia Wilson led the way with 23 and 10 rebounds. But unfortunately, the hero for Mississippi State, Morgan Williams, she was benched for much of that game, and she only scored 8 points in 23 minutes of playing time. So that was pretty much it. So South Carolina gets it done. They win it 67-55, first ever national championship for South Carolina, and that's all there is to say about that. But as happy as we are for South Carolina winning their first ever national championship, that coupled with what the men did in this year's NCAA tournament, going to the Final Four, in which none of us had had the men of South Carolina getting to the Final Four before coming up just short against Gonzaga last Saturday night. I mean, the men's and women's South Carolina Gamecocks basketball teams should be commended and applauded for their efforts throughout this tournament. I mean, the men getting to the Final Four and the women winning the national championship. The only question is, had it been UConn, would they have still won the national championship? That's a major what-if file. You know, Derek Ferreira and I, we love doing our what-if files. That's a major what-if file. If it was UConn, if UConn had won that game against Mississippi State and made it 112 in a row, would they have made it 113 and yet another national championship? Possibly, yes, most likely. But then again, upsets can happen at any time. Any team can be, I mean, a superpower team, even a superpower team can lose to a team that, you know, we say, oh, this team has no chance in hell of winning. Well, Mississippi State proved us wrong. They proved us wrong. And for the first time in quite a while, this women's tournament was not the UConn Invitational, as has been so many times in previous years. I mean, I honestly don't remember the last time. I honestly can't remember the last time. I think it was I want to say it was 2011. I think was the last time UConn failed to win the national championship. And I mean, I gotta look into that because I know they won in 2016. That I know for a fact. Actually, I stand corrected. I believe it was 2012 that was the last women's tournament in which the UConn women did not win the national championship. It was 2012, yes, and it was Baylor. The Baylor ladies won it in 2012, beating Notre Dame. When I don't remember how far UConn went that year. Oh, yeah, they went to the Final Four, but they got upset by Notre Dame in overtime. Notice what I said, in overtime. I believe whenever the UConn, I mean, I think I finally have a way to beat the UConn women in the tournament. Take them to overtime, because I don't believe they have ever won a game in which it has gone to overtime. I think I saw a stat where they were like 0-7, I think, in overtime games. Take them to OT. That's all you got to do. You take them to OT, you got a chance. But if you don't take it, well, but if you keep it in regulation, well, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get burned. So, but nonetheless, congratulations to the South Carolina Gamecocks and their head coach, Dawn Staley. First ever national championship for them. And what a great month for the state of South Carolina. The women's team winning it all, and the men's team going to the Final Four when we didn't think they had a chance. They had a snowball's chance of even getting that far. So Dawn Staley and Frank Martin, well done, you two. And in the immortal words of Deion Sanders, pay those folks, if you know what I mean. So that's all I can say about it. So congrats to everybody and to Mississippi State for pulling the biggest upset in the history of women, and of not just in women's college basketball, but I think it's the biggest upset in the history of women's sports. So that's all I can say. So MF, let's bring you on in. How about it? The UConn Invitational, we actually had a breakthrough this year. Well done.
Yeah, we actually did have a breakthrough, and the biggest thing was that the new national champion. First off, Mississippi State, you're forever going to be put in lore as, without a doubt, one of the best teams. I mean, you're forever the team. You're forever the team that won You took down the juggernaut. You took down is not only the irresistible force but the immovable object. Nobody saw this coming. You're now in the lore forever, like when Stanford beat Connecticut and ended that streak, or when Houston, of all teams, knocked off UCLA in the men's game and broke that undefeated streak, or when Duke knocked off UNLV in the 1991 Final Four in the national semifinal to end their undefeated season. You just became a footnote in history for all the right reasons. And one other stat, Anthony, and this is actually funny enough. Whenever UConn plays in regulation, they dominate their opponents, they blow them out, they destroy them. All their losses where they lose have all been overtimes. In the last 6 overtime games, regular season or NCAA tournament, they're 0-6 in overtime. You get them to overtime, you can beat UConn. And that's the moral of the story. They were not playing their best game, even in their standards. I think people will agree with that. They just had an off night, and Mississippi State benefited from it, and they got the plays that they needed it to get, and they won. They get to the national championship game, even though South Carolina, oh, by the way, they were a number 1 seed. I think they were like number 2 or number 3 overall, but they won it. They deserved it. They earned it. Congratulations. Way to go for South Carolina, but big ups to Mississippi State for making it that great. So congratulations to the women's team. The women's game, unbelievable, incredible job. All right, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, this was a fun women's tournament, and like you said, all highlighted by the big shocker with UConn having its long undefeated streak come to an end thanks to Mississippi State and what was an unbelievable game. And yeah, I mean, so South Carolina wins the national championship. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So I'm just gonna pass it off to you, Florio.
I already shared my thoughts, so 2 more things left to get into before we call it a night here. And Michael Bullock, you can take a little bit of a rest here because this is all about MF here and now. Because it's UFC time here on Strictly Sports, and we got a pay-per-view event coming up again tomorrow night. It's UFC 210 from the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York, for the first time in 22 years. This is the first time the UFC will have an event in Buffalo since UFC 7, all the way back in September of 1995, a night that Ken Shamrock was the headliner. So here we go. Run down the card for you. Of course, MF will only give his thoughts on the main card, but I'll run down the card for you anyway, just so you can have an idea of what's going to happen at this event tomorrow night. 2 separate preliminary cards. We have the preliminary card that takes place on the UFC Fight Pass. Janelle Lausa against Magomed Babilotov in a flyweight bout. Caitlin Chukagian against Irene Aldana in a women's bantamweight bout. Josh Emmett versus Desmond Green in a lightweight bout. And Gregor Gillespie against Andrew Holbrook. That's a lightweight bout, and that all goes down on the Fight Pass. The preliminary card on Fox Sports 1 is as follows. Patrick Cummins versus Gian Blachowicz for a light heavyweight bout. Charles Rosa against Shane Burgos in a featherweight bout. Kamaru Usman against Sean Strickland in a welterweight bout, and Miles Jury against Mike De La Torre in a featherweight bout. Now the main card. Lightweight bout, Will Brooks versus Charles Oliveira. Welterweight bout, Thiago Alves against Patrick Cote. Women's strawweight bout, Cynthia Calvillo against Pearl Gonzalez. Middleweight bout, we got Chris Weidman going up against Gegard Mousasi. And in the main event of the evening, for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, champion Daniel Cormier to defend the title against Anthony Johnson. MF, I know you and Alex Zapata will be going up to the Buffalo Wild Wings tomorrow night to check this event out, as is customary with all of the UFC events. So UFC 210, Cormier Johnson 2. How does this card shape up to you?
Well, it was weird today. I don't know. Okay. A lot of things broke out earlier today that was really weird, and it kind of was. It kind of really. I don't know what to even say, but it really affected my feelings for tomorrow night. But okay. First off, Will Brooks versus Charles Oliveira, great matchup. Two good lightweights, very young lightweights. We'll have to wait and see what happens here. Patrick Cote versus Thiago the Pitbull Alves, man. This is going to be fun. I know Alex is very excited to see the Pitbull back in the octagon in a welterweight division fight. This is going to be a very interesting matchup, and so we can't wait to see how this fight comes out. Cynthia Calvillo and Pearl Gonzalez. Okay, Cynthia Calvillo has just fought about a month ago. She fought in the last UFC pay-per-view, which was UFC 209. She got a big victory, a rear naked choke in the first round. And now she's going up against Pearl Gonzalez, who's making her UFC debut. This is her first fight ever. She's currently undefeated at 5-0. But there was a little bit okay. This was a bizarre situation that broke out earlier today. Okay. So, Pearl Gonzalez was trying to make the weight. She basically had to get down to the 115-pound range. She did. Then 2 hours later, she was pulled from the card unexplicably, and we were like, wait a minute, what the hell happened? Why is she being pulled off the card? Why was she not why was she pulled off the card? Because she made weight. It's not like it was a weight issue. What the hell happened? Well, the New York State Athletic Commission said, well, basically, you're not allowed to fight because you got breast implants. And under New York State law, fighters who has, I guess, breast augmentation or breast implants are not allowed to fight in combat sports. Wait, what? How is that even fair? So there was a mega uproar. Everybody started flipping out, and then basically after what happened is next, we find out that actually no, the athletic commission reversed their decision and said, well, the fight goes on as scheduled. Basically, we don't know why this happened, what was the change of heart by the athletic commission, but Pearl Gonzalez finally will get into the octagon for the first time ever tomorrow night. And for me, I was perplexed. I didn't know what the heck happened. So, okay, I'm glad she's getting an opportunity. I can't wait to see her. I've heard a lot of great things about her, so I can't wait to see the fight. Chris Weidman versus Gegard Mousasi. This is a mega fight. Wyman got embarrassed by Romero in his last fight, got totally taken out, no doubt about it. Gegard Moussaoui coming off a big win. Now this is really an eliminator fight in the middleweight division. Wyman, if he wins, then he'll shoot right back up, possibly in title contention. If Moussaoui wins, he's up the ladder. This is number 5 versus number 6. So I can't wait to see this battle. And then, of course, the main event, Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. These guys met at UFC 187. Cormier dominated that fight. He destroyed Rumble. But let me tell you, Rumble has gotten so much better since UFC 187 from May of 2015. His last 6 fights have all been victories, all in the first round, all been knockouts. He is without a doubt the most feared guy. I do not want to. I'm calling it right now. In my opinion, we're going to have a new UFC light heavyweight champion by when this is all said and done tomorrow night. I have Anthony Rumble Johnson winning the title. And, okay, this was beyond weird, too. There was a lot of controversy about this. Okay, so what happened earlier today was you had to weigh in before 11 o'clock in the morning. That was your cutoff time. If you didn't, if you were unable to do it, then you were going to be in big trouble. So, Daniel Cormier came in at about 10:50. I think he said 10:56, 10:57. Okay, so he weighs in, comes up at 206 pounds. 206.2 pounds. No, actually, he weighed in a pound and a half over the 205-pound limit. So it basically, at that point, the New York State Athletic Commission is ruling is that you have you get an opportunity to reweigh after 2 hours. You get a 2-hour time limit, and you can reweigh, and you can get back to that weight. Now, at basically 11 o'clock on the dot, not even 2 minutes after Cormier weighs in, he weighs again and hits the 205 on the dot. Like, it literally within 2 minutes, he lost a pound and a half. How is that even possible? Then, at the stroke of 11, Anthony Rumble Johnson weighs in because he had to wait for Cormier to weigh in. Johnson weighs in, and he comes in at 203.8, well under the 205-pound limit. But people are going absolutely ballistic right now because they think that there might have been some tampering. There might have been some tampering with the weight, with the scale. Basically, they think, well, I'll say it. I'll openly admit it. They think Cormier cheated to make weight. It showed him leaning on the towel. Maybe that gave him a little less, drop a couple of the lbs from the weight. Then on top of that, it was shown that he was being showed himself on a towel, basically a teammate holding him up, where he kind of leaning on the towel, supporting him. So I mean, whatever the case may be, he made the weight. The fight is on. And a couple of people was like, yeah, well, that's unfair, this and that. One person said it. The heck with being fair. We got the fight. The title's on the line. Our main event's been protected. We just got our main event. The main event is protected. Deal with it. I don't know. After they did the weigh-in earlier today, fans were booing Daniel Cormier really hardcore. He he was like, you know what, the scale was wrong. I knew I made the 205 limit. I was there. I felt good. I know it's the weight cut's a lot more tougher because I am 37 years old, so it's a little more harder. I'm getting older, so it's a little more tougher to try to make the weight, and so that's what happened there. Of course, obviously the UFC people, some MMA fans instantly jumped out, lashed out, says that that's a bunch of malarkey. I can't even, that's not even, you can't call that, what that is a bunch of garbage and everything else. Well, person, um, is very influential, and I know who's been the center of a lot of rumors. Uh, say it is his biggest rival and former light heavyweight champion, which is John Bones Jones. And Jones basically Cormier, he goes on and says, and I quote, "That was absolutely nuts. I can't believe what I was witnessing. You on his hands, you can see him looking down, like balancing, trying to balance out his weight just to make 205. It's a clever trick, pretty dishonest of him. That's the craziest thing that was allowed to happen. I would imagine there would be some type of commission to go back and see the blatant foul and address it. No one addressed it. They got away with doing one of the most dirtiest things I have ever seen in sports. I mean, you can call it what you want. I know a lot of people are agreeing with John Bones Jones and saying that, yeah, it was dirty. It was downright despicable what they did. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to protect your main event, if you're trying to protect the UFC light heavyweight championship of the world, which this fight was definitely, then do some things that is, well, I'll even openly admit it, probably not as professional or as nice as it would be. At the end of the day, there's nothing you can say about it. Am I disgusted with what I saw? Absolutely. I was annoyed with what I saw. It is very unprofessional what Daniel Cormier did, and that's why my prediction is relative to that. I've lost a lot of respect for Daniel Cormier after what he pulled today at the weigh-ins, and I cannot wait to see Anthony Rumble Johnson knock him out and win the UFC light heavyweight championship of the world tomorrow night. So with that said, Anthony, that's your UFC preview. Hopefully I'll be able to give my review next week. But with that said, it's all yours, my friend.
All right. And of course, the next UFC event after that will be, pay-per-view event rather, will be UFC 211, which will be on May 13th at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas, which will be headlined by not one, but two championship bouts, a women's strawweight title bout, and of course, the UFC World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Stipe Miocic against Junior Dos Santos. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to get MF's thoughts on that.
And I got to tell you, Anthony, this fight card from top to bottom looks like this could be one of the greatest fight cards I've ever seen. If you thought the UFC 200 was amazing, this fight card has the makings. In the UFC 205 card, which was in Madison Square Garden, this card has the makings of possibly being one of the greatest fight cards ever in UFC history.
And if that's the case, I may end up having to make the trip with you and Alex to to Buffalo Wild Wings.
He's definitely been asking for you to come back and hang out with us for the night. And actually, I know Michael Bullock not really an MMA fan, but I actually will send that offer to you as well.
Yeah, I mean Bullock and I have been we've been going up to that Buffalo Wild Wings a lot lately. Of course, we had a group outing there a week ago, which was really nice, and Bullock and I, along with our good friend Mike Keenan, we've had a few boys' night outs over there as well. So yeah, we'll definitely get into that in the month to come. That's next month. So hopefully, I don't have any plans that night. I'm hoping I don't, and if I don't, I'm definitely considering jumping in on that. So because that's a damn good card right there. So, all right. Now we go to the main event of the evening, the NHL Power Rankings. Lots to get into when it comes to this. So with the NHL, I mean, I know the Stanley Cup playoffs don't start until Wednesday, but we actually have 2 matchups set. And oh boy, look at the 2 series we've already got, both on the Eastern Conference side. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Stanley Cup champions, squaring off against the upstart Columbus Blue Jackets. And if you thought that was good, how about an original 6 rivalry renewed? When the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers square off. Whoa. That's just 2 of the series already? Who knows what other exciting series could await in this upcoming Stanley Cup playoff year. There's still a couple more days to go, and I've already seen the schedule. I mean, there was only one game tonight. The Tampa Bay Lightning defeating the Montreal Canadiens. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're the cardiac kids right now. I mean, I'm starting to see what MF and I saw from this team just 2 years ago. I mean, not just the bully hockey, but they're the cardiac kids. I mean, just when you think you have them down, they keep finding ways to win. And who knows? There's a chance we could see this team in the playoffs again. And if so, they could be just as scary as they was in 2015. So, anyways, our first NHL power rankings since all the way back on March the 10th. So we're looking at about a month stretch here. So made a lot of changes when it comes to this power ranking. Case in point, 2 teams that I previously had in that power ranking are both in my dud list. Unfortunately, one of those teams, I hate to say it, it is our New York Rangers. I'm sorry to say. They're 3-3-4 in their last 10 games. Listen to that. 3-3-4 in the last 10 games. They lost their last game, and it doesn't get any easier for them because they got to play the Ottawa Senators this afternoon. A game that can be seen exclusively on the NHL Network. So we'll see what happens with that. And my other dud team is the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hard to believe. 3-5-2 in their last 10 games and losers of 5 in a row. You do not want to be on the schneid going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, and especially against the reigning and defending champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'll tell you right now, Pittsburgh Penguins, they are in my top 5 when it comes to this installment of the power ranking. So Blue Jackets, you're out. Rangers, as much as it hurts me to say it, they're out as well. I have really not liked what I've seen from them as of late. So, and that's going to bode that, and hopefully that doesn't impact their upcoming series with Montreal. So, and Montreal's got payback on their mind for the conference finals 3 years ago when the Rangers knocked them out in 6 and went to the finals, only to lose to the LA Kings, which of course I'm still butthurt about. But, it is what it is. So, with that being said, let's go into this installment of the power rankings here. I have a tie at number 10. One team is playing some really good hockey as of late, but I don't think but I think it might be too little, too late for this team. Actually, it is too little, too late because all 8 spots in the Western Conference have already been locked up. But I think this team should be in the power rankings anyway. And by the way, this is our final NHL power rankings until next season. Winnipeg Jets are one of my 2 number 10s. They closed out this regular season very strongly, going 8-2 in their last 10 games and winning 6 in a row, but it was too little, too late. As like I said, all 8 spots in the Western Conference playoff picture are all set. We just have to determine the matchups and everything else. Winnipeg, 6 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10. I mean, they played very well. I mean, but it was, like I said, just too little, too late. If they had done this like maybe a month ago, maybe we would have been talking about them in the Stanley Cup playoffs and in the whole 9 yards. They have 1 game left, and that's against the Nashville Predators tonight at home. But closed out the season winning 6 games in a row, beating the likes of Vancouver at home, New Jersey on the road, Anaheim at home. That's a big deal. Very big deal. Ottawa at home, at St. Louis, and at Columbus. So they closed out the regular season on a very high note, defeating a lot of playoff teams, but it was just too little, too late. Nashville is the only game left. They finished the year 5th in goal scoring, 244 goals this season. All the other statistical categories, not that good. But when you finish in the top 5 in goals scoring, that's really good. So if only they had done this, like, say, a few weeks ago, maybe they would have found their way in. But I think this could be a team to watch for next season. I mean, this could be one of the dark horse teams next year, especially if they keep playing like they did here. My first of 2 number 10s is the Winnipeg Jets, and my other number 10, the Philadelphia Flyers, 6-3-1, 2-game losing streak. I believe all of the actually, there's 1 spot left in the Eastern Conference playoff bracket. 1 spot, 3 teams, and we'll get into those 3 teams in just a short. But Philly, they came up just a little short as well. But I liked how they closed out as well. Not as great as Winnipeg, but yeah, they have. I believe they have 1 game left as well. 2 games left rather, both at home. They play the Columbus Blue Jackets today, and then on Sunday they play the Carolina Hurricanes. Both of those games are at home. They were in that mix for a while, but then they sputtered down the stretch. But 6-3-1 though, that's one of the reasons why I got to put them in. So that's all there is to say on that. So Winnipeg Jets, Philadelphia Flyers, my co-number 10s in the power rankings. So MF, how does your final NHL power rankings start at number 10 on your end?
I can only give you one of the 2 teams, and as a matter of fact, I'm sorry, Anthony. Philadelphia doesn't even make it for me. Winnipeg, yes, you deserve it. You earned it. When you go 8-2 winners, 6 in a row, the only reason why I'm just giving you that is just because of your body of work at the end and what you brought to the table. But normally, whenever I do a power ranking, especially the final one, unless you really wow me and give me a reason to put you in, then 9 times out of 10 I'll say, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. The 6 in a row and the 8-2 in the last 10 is the main reason why. Because normally, even Winnipeg would not have been in my initial power rankings either, Anthony. But because of what you said, you kind of convinced me to do it, so I'm going to do it anyway. So my number 10, yes, I agree with you here. It is the Winnipeg Jets. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Bullock, are you with us? I guess not. All right. We're just gonna have to free swing this the rest of the way, MF. So we're gonna
That's
have to
fine.
channel our inner Gary Thorne, Bill Clement, Doc, and Enzo here. So yeah. Now that you mention it, you make a great argument. I think I should take Philly out, but Winnipeg, they definitely deserve to be in, especially after they close the stretch. It's a damn shame that they're not going to the playoffs. I mean, they came up just short. All 8 spots in the West are locked. We just have to get the matchups determined. We haven't determined that yet. So
Yeah.
all right. So Winnipeg Jets, we both agree on number 10. I'm going to remove Philly right now. So Philly, you're out. I'm sorry to say. Maybe I could probably say honorable mention at best. So. All right, Winnipeg's number 9 on both our ends. So, MF, number 9, who you got here?
Actually, this is one of those teams that's, again, outside looking in. They're going to need some help, but they might actually get in but they need some good luck to happen. My number 9, I'm going to do it, is New York Islanders. 6-3-1 in the last 10 games, winner of 4 in a row. They're right now 39-29-12 with 90 points. Now they're 3 behind Toronto, 2 behind Tampa. All they need to do is win their 2 games out. They would need but I think they would be ahead if it is like a tie or something like that between Tampa and New York. I think New York has advantage. So all they really need to do is hope and pray that Toronto loses to Pittsburgh. And I don't know what their last game is. I don't know who their last opponent is. But they would have to, no worse, lose that too. Maybe 1 point and get a point. Basically, if Toronto wins their next game, it's done. It's a moot point. Toronto's in, and Tampa and the Islanders are both out. So it's going to be a fight to the finish. But the way that this has been lately, I can't say nothing better here. I can't say nothing bad about this. My number 9 is the New York Islanders. Anthony, I give it to you.
Yeah, I agree. New York Islanders, number 9 in my rankings as well. They got some work to do if they're going to make it. I mean, I honestly think it's a 2-team race between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning for that 8th and final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. I mean, we got 7 spots locked up. We just have 1 more between 3 teams. The Islanders, I mean, even though they've been playing well, 6-3-1 in the last 10, winners of 4 in a row. I mean, 1 more loss and they're done. I mean, they're going to need a lot of help. So, if I'm going to be real honest with you, MF, I don't really see this team making it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it. They're going to have to win their next 2. They're at New Jersey tonight, so I think there's a chance they can do that. I think they can beat New Jersey. Ottawa, though, that's going to be a tough task because Ottawa's been, one of those good teams as of late as well. Of course, they're in, so I'm sure we'll get into them in a little bit. But that 3-game losing streak towards the end of March, losing to the Bruins and Nashville and Philadelphia, that might have been the deciding factor. But they beat New Jersey at home last Friday, and then they won, and then 3 road wins against Buffalo, Nashville, and Carolina this week, and it sets up their final road game of the year against New Jersey, and then the home game against Ottawa Sunday. So Islanders are going to need some help. That's all there is to say about it. Tavares and company, they're going to need a miracle if they're going to make it. Because honestly, if I'm going to be real honest with you, MF, the Gary Thorne and Mike Emmerich to my Bill Clement and Enzo here, I'm sorry, I don't see them making it. I really don't. So I think it's going to come down to either Toronto or Tampa Bay. So we'll see what happens. So I'll give you that one. New York Islanders, my number 9 in these power rankings here. So let's see. Moving on now to my number 9, and this team is also in that echelon as well. As far as last 10 goes, they haven't won 4 in a row. They did lose their last game, but they rebounded just good enough to make the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in 3 years. So I'm happy to see this team back in the postseason. That team at number 8, the Boston Bruins, 6-3-1 in the last 10. Lost their last game, like I said. But they got a very tough game, a very tough regular season finale this afternoon when they have to go up against the President's Trophy champion, Washington Capitals, in the Garden this afternoon. That is not an easy task, to say the very least. But the Bruins, though, first in penalty kill percentage, 85.5. That I think that could definitely pay some major dividends when it comes to the playoffs here. I mean, you want to have a good penalty kill, and the Bruins have the best penalty kill of any team. And they're 7th on the power play, so that's really good. And they're also 10th in goals allowed. That shows you that's a testament to the body of work of one Tuukka Rask. So, so the Boston Bruins, before their tough luck loss to the Ottawa Senators on Thursday night, they were on a tear. They had won like 6 or 7 in a row, which started back on March 25th when they beat the Islanders in Barclays. And that's really when their fortunes turned. They got a big win against the Islanders, and then a home win, and then home wins against Nashville and Dallas. So that was 3 in a row. They had previously won 6 in a row. And then they had a home win against Florida last Saturday, but this was the big one for me. They went into Chicago and they stole one in Chicago this past Sunday, WrestleMania Sunday. They did it. 3-2 winners in Chicago. And then a 4-0 shutout of Tampa Bay on Tuesday. But then that tough luck loss to the Senators on Thursday. If it wasn't for that, this team easily would have been in the top 5, if not top 3. But that hurts. And then, of course, this afternoon, 3 o'clock, NBC, their regular season finale at home against your President's Trophy winning Washington Capitals. Not an easy task, to say the very least, but what a job by Bruce Cassidy since taking over for Claude Julien, who was fired the day of the Patriots Super Bowl parade, which sparked a major uproar here in New England. Tuukka Rask, 8 shutouts, 2.25 goals against average. There's no question about it. He's definitely going to be in the running for the Vezina, no doubt. But they're going to have to do it without their star, Brad Marchand, suspended for 2 games. 39 goals and 46 assists. That's 85 points. That's a big one right there. But you still got Krejci in there. You still got Pasternak. You still got Krug and Chara. So they should be just fine. So, but I don't know about Washington, though. We'll see about Washington. But at the end of the day, though, I think this could be one of the dark horse teams in the Eastern Conference. Not sure who they're going to match up against. This weekend will determine it. But I can tell you right now, it's not going to be Columbus. It's not going to be Pittsburgh because they play each other. And it's not going to be Montreal or the Rangers because, they're playing each other as well. So right now, it could be the Washington Capitals. And if it's the Washington Capitals, I'm sorry to say it, that's going to be an open and shut series. So that's all I can say there. But we'll see how their fates turn. But for right now, my number 8, it is the Boston Bruins. So, MF, Doc, who you got here?
Agreed. Boston. No doubt about it. No arguments here. I just think they're just a little bit of a better team. No doubt about that. Really nothing more to say, so we'll just dive into number 7. And my number 7, all right, I hate to do this, but after what happened tonight, This team was possibly a top 5 team. Not anymore. They drop big time. Les Montreal Canadiens is my number 7. I had to do it. I'm sorry, I had to do it. They lost 4-2 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. That really triggered the Lightning to be in that position where they're 1 point away. But the thing is, there's one problem. They need Toronto to lose or not get a point from here on out. If Toronto wins over Pittsburgh tonight, it's done. It's a moot point. But no doubt about it, 6-3-1, losers of 2 in a row. Quite frankly, I'd rather see Montreal lose because the Rangers are going to have to play this team in the first round. And I want them in the funk. I want them in a downward spiral. They've lost 2 in a row. I'd rather see them in that tailspin going into the postseason. So I'm sorry, I had to do it. I was really left with no choice here. Number 7, Montreal Canadiens. Anthony, you're probably going to disagree with me, but go ahead.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one, MF. You're absolutely right on that. It is the Montreal Canadiens at number 7. The reason why we rank them ahead of Boston is because of the fact that Montreal won their division. Montreal won the Atlantic divisions. So that's a major testament to Claude Julien, the job he's done. But they're stumbling. 6-3-1. They've lost 2 in a row. And before this 2-game losing streak, they were playing very well as well. I mean, I think they had won like 4 or 5 in a row going in, almost like what the Bruins did. March 25th, they got home wins against Ottawa and Dallas and Florida to end the month of March, and then winning in Tampa and Florida. They had won 5 in a row, but then Wednesday night they suffer a very bad and tough luck loss to Buffalo. That's not good. And then you lose at home to Tampa. 1 game left. Their regular season finale at the Joe in Detroit against the Red Wings, which will be the final NHL game at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, because the Detroit Red Wings, for the first time in over a quarter of a century, are not going to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Can you believe that? A Stanley Cup playoff year without the Detroit Red Wings. I can't even fathom that. But all good things must come to an end. Nothing lasts forever, as the old saying goes. But Montreal, though, their only saving grace is that they're 3rd in goals allowed. That's a testament to Carey Price's body of work. But they're 17th in goals scoring. They're 13th in power play and penalty kill. But I know Carey Price has been battling some injury bugs. But you got Al Montoya and Charlie Lindgren. Yeah, they need Carey Price. I mean, 2.20 goals against, a .924 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Pacioretty led the team with 35 goals and 67 points. Alexander Radulov, that's another guy you got to watch for, 36 assists. Galchenyuk with 43 points. Markov playing well. Biron playing well. But I'll give MF credit. I mean, he said that he wanted our Rangers to, finish outside of that top echelon in the Metropolitan, and it worked. They got one of the wild card spots. And we go up against the Atlantic Division winner, which is Montreal, and this could be shades of 2014 all over again, because Montreal is fading. And we'll see what they do against Detroit at the Joe tonight, the final game ever at the Joe Louis Arena before they move into that brand new Little Caesars Arena next season. So, Rangers with 2 more games left. Of course, that they have Ottawa coming up, and then I believe it's Washington after that. So there you have it. MF made some very valid points. So the Montreal Canadiens are number 7 in this installment of the NHL Power Rankings this time out. So now we go to number 6, and who do I give the edge to here when it comes to number 6? A lot of good teams playing some good hockey right now. Very, very tough, to say the very least. I see another team that's gone 6-3-1 in the last 10, and is a playoff caliber team, and I think deserves some consideration here. The Nashville Predators, playoff team, 6-3-1, last 10 games. They won their last game, 9th in goal scoring, and let's see who they they go up against Winnipeg. You got a red hot Winnipeg Jet team that you're going to close out the regular season. But Nashville was playing very well. Near the end of March, they put together a 4-game winning streak. Wins against Arizona, Calgary, San Jose, and the Islanders, before losing at Boston and at home to Toronto. And then you had a nice win against Minnesota. And then back-to-back losses at St. Louis and at home to the Islanders. And then a big win at Dallas on Thursday, at Winnipeg tonight. They're in the playoffs. We don't know who they're going to be going up against. But this is a team that you may want to watch for when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, because this could be one of the dark horses in the West. All right, MF stepping out for a moment. So looking at Nashville, I mean, Pekka Rinne, 243 goals against, 918 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Ryan Johansson, 61 points with 47 assists. Philip Forsberg led the team with 31, tied for the team league in goals with Victor Arvidsson, each with 31. James Neal with 23. Roman Josi, 37 assists. But this is a good young team here. Of course, they also got PK Subban, as you remember, before the season in that trade that sent Shea Weber to Montreal. So definitely like Nashville's body of work as of right now, and we'll see what happens. So my number 6 is the Nashville Predators. I don't know if MF's back in yet, but I'll just have to take it for a little spin here until he comes back in. I mean, very exciting time coming up, the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, this is one of our favorite times of the year, and MF and I are going to be all over this. Of course, the Ranger Roundup will be back. We don't know the dates, but we're hopeful that we'll get to bring you more of those. Hopefully, we'll get to have we'll get to have a nice run like we did in 2014 and 15. I mean, 2015 was a hell of a year. I mean, that was okay. MF's back in, so don't forget Ranger Roundups coming back within the next week or so. Sometime next week. We just don't know which day. It'll probably be either Wednesday or Thursday when the Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens are ready to start their series. So, and this is a series that we're going to be all over, because Original 6 series. So that's an automatic when it comes to us. So, because of our love and appreciation for the Original 6. So, number 6 for me was the Nashville Predators. I don't know if MF's going to agree with that or not, but let's find out right now. So, MF, Doc, who you got at number 6?
Excuse me, just had to take a quick little drink of orange juice, and yes, it's actually orange juice, not actual soda. Shocker. Okay. Excuse me. Oh boy. agree. My number 6 is the Nashville Predators. I guess you probably ran down all the schematics, so nothing to argue here. Now that we now dwell into the top 5, um, my number 5 is okay. Has been really good lately. 7-1-2 in the last 10 games, 95 points. They're in the postseason. Congratulations. And let's give a good old tip of the cap and what's up to the St. Louis Blues. Yeah, screwy St. Louis is back in the postseason, and there was a talk and there was a chance, believe it or not, of possibly. And how crazy would this have been? Possibly us seeing a St. Louis Chicago first round matchup. Unfortunately, that does not look like it's possible now. Well, it's not really impossible, but there is a chance where we could get a Chicago St. Louis, or um, where we could see a St. Louis Anaheim first round matchup. Right now, they're really on the razor's edge with 95 points. Calgary and Nashville with 94 points. I mean, this could go any which way right now. So St. Louis has 3 possible opponents in the first round. Either they're going to play Minnesota, they could run into Chicago, or they could run into Anaheim. There's really no the net's wide open. We don't know where it's gonna go. If it's Chicago and St. Louis, remember last year, St. Louis finally got the monkey off the back, and I believe they put Chicago out about a year or so ago. So obviously, Chicago would love to get their hands on St. Louis for doing the dirty on them about a year or so ago. And then of course, Minnesota, that's a little bit of a divisional rivalry. So obviously you're going to want to see that. If they get Anaheim, I don't know. I don't know what I would think about that matchup. Anaheim versus St. Louis would be compelling. I think if anything, I think even all the prognosticators would love to see St. Louis Chicago, because that's the rivalry. There's some genuine bad blood between the two. They've battled in the Winter Classic. St. Louis won that afternoon at Busch Stadium. It was actually January 2nd that game happened. Normally it would be the New Year's Day game, but because there was the Centennial game this time around, which was Toronto and Detroit. Toronto won that game, and that was a 5-star classic. The Chicago St. Louis, not so much. Winter Classic wasn't that great this year. So, but see what happens. So, yeah, number 5, or I think it's number 5, St. Louis Blues. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. I just got a message from Michael Bullock. Michael Bullock's night is over. He has work in the morning, so he's out for this. So he will be back with us Monday night for Ridiculously Raw. So, all right. Getting into my number 5, you said St. Louis, and yeah, I agree with you again. St. Louis Blues, my number 5 as well. 7-1-2 in the last 10, and they are winners of 2 in a row, I believe. 1 in a row. Yeah, they won their last game, but 7-1-2 in the last 10. That speaks volumes right there. 95 points. They're back in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 5th in penalty kill, 8th in power play. 2 very good numbers right there. Let's see. 7-1-2 in the last 10, which is really good. Since our last rankings, they played very well. wins over Anaheim and the Islanders in LA, lost at Anaheim, and then wins and then put together a 4-game winning streak in the middle of March. Road wins in San Jose, Arizona, and Colorado. Home win against Vancouver. Home loss to Calgary. They swept a home-and-home series with Arizona. Bad loss at Colorado at last Friday night. Won at home against Nashville. Got beat down at home by Winnipeg on Tuesday, and then a 6-3 win in Florida Thursday night. 2 games left. They have a road game at Carolina tonight, and then Sunday they host Colorado. So, I think they're going to be a tough out in this playoff year, especially with Jake Allen leading the way, 243 goals against, 914 save percentage, 4 shutouts. Carter Hutton with 4 shutouts as well. Tarasenko, that's the guy we got to watch for, 72 points. 38 goals and 34 assists. So watch out for Tarasenko. Jaden Schwartz led the team with 36 assists. Alexander Steen, watch out for him as well. Berglund. So we'll see what happens. I'd love to see them against Chicago again. That would be one hell of a series, especially after that series that we had a year ago that MF mentioned, with St. Louis winning in 7. No doubt, that was the most exciting of the first round series, hands down. And series we would have loved to have had a hand in, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, St. Louis Blues are number 5. I agree 100% with MF's sentiments on that one. All right. I did forget to mention a couple of other duds in this installment of the Power Rankings as we go to number 4. One of them, believe it or not, is the Chicago Blackhawks. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is true. 4-3-3 in the last 10 and losers of 3 in a row. Not going to get it done, I'm afraid. Even though they're going to have the home ice advantage throughout the Western Conference playoffs. So we'll leave it at that. I'll say it right now, the top four is easy as pie. We just don't know how to rank them. So, number 4, I got to go with your reigning and defending Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins at number 4. 6-2-2 in the last 10, winners of 4 in a row. 111 points, the second most by a Penguin team in a regular season. There was only one year they had more points. That was in the 1993 season when they finished with 119 points, but were unceremoniously bounced in the second round of that playoff year by the Islanders. We all remember that. We all remember that one. Lead the league in scoring, 273 goals, 5th in the power play percentage. I mean, they need to work on the goaltending. They're 17th in that, and they're 19th in penalty kill. But, I mean, Sid the Kid and company are playing their best hockey at the right time. We always talk about it. They've won 4 in a row, and they're 6-2-2 in the last 10 games. Going in to end the month of March, they were on a 4-game losing streak, believe it or not. Losses at Ottawa and home losses to the Islanders, Philadelphia, and Chicago. But then on last Friday night, they picked up a huge win in Madison Square Garden against the Rangers, beat them 4-3. And that's when their fortunes turned around big time. And then home wins against Carolina and Columbus, and then a road win in New Jersey. They have 2 games left. Both of those are on the road, and both very tough games. They go up against the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight at the Air Canada Center. And then the other, a tough game Sunday night when they go back to Madison Square Garden to take on the Rangers in their regular season finale. So, of course, they're going to be one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup again. Matt Murray, 241 goals against, 923 save percentage, 4 shutouts. Of course, you got Fleury in there. Crosby he had an MVP caliber season, 43 goals and 45 assists. Kessel had a great year with 22 goals and 46 assists. Malkin, 33 goals and 39 assists for 72 points. Connor Sheary, that's another young man that we got to keep our eye out on. MF and I, we hate this team's guts, but boy, howdy. I mean, you remember last year, they were the hottest team going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, and look what happened. They went on to win the Stanley Cup. Could lightning strike twice? It's possible. So with that being said, number 4, Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. MF, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no arguments here. The Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins, is definitely number 4 worthy. This was like you said, it gets a little tougher here, but no, I agree with what you just said there, Anthony. So nothing more to say. Now we dwell into the top 3. I'm gonna say it. This gets a little tricky. However, number 1 for me is a foregone conclusion. But my number 3, what a season for this team. What a remarkable run. I honestly, when this season began, I didn't even have this team in the playoffs. The Edmonton Oilers, 8-2 in the last 10 games. Winners of they just won a couple of nights ago when they defeated the San Jose Sharks. Now they're going on the road against the Vancouver Canucks, and then they got one more game on Sunday. What a season they've had. Unbelievable run for them. There's really nothing more to say for me. They've just been a remarkable team, a remarkable job, and Edmonton is rolling in the right direction heading into the postseason. You know what? Everybody remembers the glory days of the 1980s when you had guys like Yari Curry, you had Mark Messier, and of course the great one Wayne Gretzky as part of the Edmonton Oilers when they were winning Stanley Cups in the 1980s. Now you got guys like Connor McJesus is what we call him, Connor McDavid. What a run that he's been having this season with the team. This is going to be one of those sleeper teams that I got in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'll tell you one thing. If everything holds to form and they play San Jose in the first round, I like Edmonton in that series. I'm going to openly admit that. So we'll wait and see what happens. But my number 3, Edmonton Oilers. Anthony, go.
Edmonton Oilers, number 3, 8-2 in the last 10. 6th in power play percentage, 7th in goaltending, 10th in goal scoring. I mean, really good. They just got to work on the penalty kill. They're 16th in that. But unbelievable run for this young team. And I agree with you, MF. I didn't have them in the playoffs either. But they're playing their best hockey at the right time. And yeah, they closed out the month of March with a 4-game winning streak, sweeping a home-and-home series with Colorado, and then home wins against LA and San Jose. That's a 4-game winning streak. It got up to a 5-game winning streak with a home win against Anaheim last Saturday, but that streak was ended by the Los Angeles Kings in Staples Center on Tuesday, but then they bounced back with a big 4-2 win against the Western Conference champion San Jose Sharks. Another dud team, by the way, 3-7 in their last 10. Not going to cut it. And they're going to end the regular season with a home-and-home series with the Vancouver Canucks. They're playing at Vancouver tonight, and then Sunday, that game will be in Edmonton against the Canucks. So yeah, what a year for this team, this great young team. Cam Talbot, our old friend from the Rangers, it was so hard to lose him. He was such a capable backup to Henrik Lundqvist, but 239 goals against, 919 save percentage, 7 shutouts. There's no question about it. He's going to be one of the top draws when it comes to the Vezina. Connor McDavid, 30 goals, 67 assists, 97 points. Sounds like MVP numbers to me. Leon Draisaitl with 28 goals and 47 assists. Lucic, 48 points. Career renaissance for him. Patrick Maroon, 27 goals, and Jordan Eberle, 31 assists. There's also Jonas Gustafsson, capable, okay backup, but Talbot, I'm sure, is going to be the man who they're going to rely on to stand on his head. Yeah, Edmonton Oilers back in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in a long time, and I'm so happy for this team. Great young team, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And MF and I are hoping that we're going to get a chance to see this team. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll get to work some of those games. It'll be an honor to work with these guys, no doubt about it. And MF brought up those super teams of the Oilers, with Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Paul Coffey, and of course the goaltending of Grant Fuhr, and of course coached by one of the all-time greats and Glenn Sather, winning all those Stanley Cups in the 80s, 4 of them to be exact, 2 back-to-backs, 84 and 85, and then again in 87 and 88. And they also won one to start the 90s in 1990. They won the Stanley Cup, beating the Boston Bruins, winning that cup in the Boston Gardens. So that's 5. And then, of course, 2006, they went back to the finals, a Cinderella run in 06 before coming up just short against the Carolina Hurricanes. So we'll see if the Lightning strikes twice. So with that being said, number 3, it is the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, now this is where it gets really dicey here when it comes to the top 2. MF, I think we're going to be in agreement here. It's between the Washington Capitals and the Anaheim Ducks. Am I right or am I right? Because those are the top 2. So who do we go with? Do we go with a team that's currently on an unbeaten streak, or do we just go with the best all-around team? This is a tough one for me. But when one of those teams happens to be the President's Trophy champions, you cannot go against that. I know unbeaten streaks are usually a big deal, but I've been back and forth on this for a little bit. But I have to give it to the best all-around teams. So begrudgingly, my number 2 is the Anaheim Ducks, although you can make an argument that they should be number 1 because they're 8-0-2 in their last 10 games, and they've won 3 in a row. 3rd in penalty kill, 4th in goals allowed. So the goaltending is going to be a major part. But the power play needs work, 16th, and the goal scoring needs work at 18th. But they swept a home-and-home series with Calgary, and then a dominating performance against the Chicago Blackhawks on Thursday night. They had won 3 to close it out with 3 in a row. They had previously lost 2 in a row, losses to Winnipeg and Edmonton. But this is a very strong team going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're going to be the number 2 team. We know that because Chicago's number 1. John Gibson, 222 goals against, 924 save percentage, 6 shutouts. That's another Vezina candidate right there. They got a solid backup in Bernier with 2 shutouts. Getzlaf led the team with 70 points. Of course, Ricard Raquel with 33 goals led the team there. Getzlaf led the team with 55 assists. To go with 15 goals goes Ryan Kessler. 22 goals, 36 assists. Corey Perry, 34 assists and 19 goals. So those are the core guys to watch for Anaheim. And they have, I believe, 1 game left. And that game is on Sunday when they host the Los Angeles Kings. So that's pretty much it. So very tough. But I think the best overall team should be rewarded, and they've been playing really, really good. So very tough. So begrudgingly, my number 2 is the Anaheim Ducks. So MF, was I right?
I agree.
Or was I wrong?
No, you're right. You were right. I agree. It was Anaheim. Even though you did talk about the 8 wins, the 2 overtime losses, that they haven't actually lost the game. They haven't. They have gotten a point in the last 10 games, no doubt about it. But when you have only 103, I think they only have 103 points, and the number one team has 116 points. Then on top of that, you only have 45 wins to 54 wins, 18 losses to 23 losses, and even the number one team has um, less overtime or shootout losses. I'm sorry, I can't, in my good judgment or my good faith, um, give that team the number one spot. I mean, there's too many factors um, that actually even affects. Um, the top team has 260 goals, 179 given up. That's a plus minus of 81. Where for for Anaheim, they got 219 goals, 197 given up. That's only a plus minus of 22. Sorry, Anthony. You definitely nailed this one. You were absolutely correct. Anaheim is number 2. My number 1 is the Washington Capitals, the President Trophy winning Washington Capitals. For all the reasons I just gave, they're my number 1 team. There's really nothing more to say. I mean, if you really look at it just by the numbers themselves, they are the number 1 team for, well, they're one of the top. No, actually they are the number 1 team in goals against. They have only given up 197 goals, which is actually um which is indeed number 1 in the league for goals given up. When it comes to goals scored, I would believe they would be in like the top 5. You could probably be better at that, Anthony, than I am, because they have scored 260 goals. I'm trying to see. Pittsburgh's got 277, so that definitely would make them. Actually, they would be number 3 overall, because Minnesota even has more goals scored more goals than they scored more goals. So they're number 3 in that, number 1 in goals against. What else do you need? Number 1 with a bullet, as I would like to say, the Washington Capitals President Trophy winning. Anthony, go.
Yes, sir. Washington Capitals, number 1. 9-1 in the last 10 games. They've won 3 in a row. They won the President's Trophy for the 2nd year in a row. 1st in goals allowed, 3rd in goals scored, 3rd in power play percentage, 7th in the penalty kill. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, they're on a 3-game winning streak, road wins in Columbus and Toronto, and then a home win against the Rangers on Wednesday night. They go to Boston against the Bruins in a very exciting game this afternoon on NBC at 3 o'clock, and then they end the season on Sunday at home against the Florida Panthers. And, well, they're going to be going up against whoever the second wild card team is. I'll get to that in just a minute. In my opinion, Braden Holtby is going to win the Vezina Trophy this year. 208 goals against, 925 save percentage, 9 shutouts. You got a more than solid backup in Philip Grubauer, 3 shutouts. Backstrom, 85 points with 23 goals and 62 assists. TJ Oshie and Alexander Ovechkin tied for the team lead with 33 goals apiece. Ovechkin, of course, has 68 points because he had 35 assists. Kuznetsov with 58 points. Johansson, 23 goals. Holtby also had 42 wins, which I'm pretty sure led the league. So Backstrom definitely in the MVP consideration, no doubt about it. And yeah, so looking at the standings for that, if the season were to end, it would be, as of now, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They currently hold that second wild card spot. It'll either be them or the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, and we could have made an argument to put both of them in the rankings as well, MF. Even though Toronto has lost 2 in a row, they're 7-3 in the last 10, and the Lightning, winners of 2 in a row, 7-2-1 in their last 10. We probably should have made some spots for these guys, but I mean, Toronto with 2 games left. One of them tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ooh, that is scary. And then on Sunday, they go up against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Oh boy, two very tough games for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if I'm going to be real honest with you, I'm rooting for the Maple Leafs to make it. One of the reasons being MF and I still have some bitter feelings for the Lightning after what they did to us 2 years ago. We haven't forgotten, by the way, and we never will either. Tampa with 1 game left. I got to look and see who that's against. It's against the Buffalo Sabres. So right now, if you look at it, Tampa Bay could be the favorite to get that last spot. I mean, because they're playing Buffalo. Buffalo's a so-so okay team. Not great, not the best. And then Toronto has to play back-to-back home games against Pittsburgh and Columbus. Well, then again, Columbus has been struggling as of late, so maybe they could get Columbus on a bad night. But Pittsburgh, though, I don't know. I really don't know about that. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it all goes down. And I am hopeful that next week on this show that Derek will have us preview the first round matchups in both this and in the NBA as well, because one of the most exciting times of the year. We're just coming off March Madness. Now we're coming up what I call April anarchy, because we got the NBA playoffs, we got the Stanley Cup playoffs, and baseball just started. So this is a damn good time to be a sports fan right now. So number one, without a doubt, it is the Washington Capitals, the President's Trophy winning Washington Capitals. And if I'm going to be real honest with you, they're my favorites to win the Stanley Cup. I think this is going to finally be the year they finally get that monkey off their back. And even though I'm a Ranger fan, I'm going to be real honest with you. As much as MF and I hate their guts, and we do, trust me, we do, there's a small part of me that's actually rooting for this team, believe it or not, because they're one of the 2 best teams that have never won the Stanley Cup. The other being the San Jose Sharks. But I think this can be the year they finally get it done. If Hopi continues to stand on his head like he did this year, and if Ovechkin and all those guys get going, and Oshie gets going, oh boy, they're going to be a tough out. Hopefully they don't end up like another statistic, like the Buffalo Bills and the Atlanta Braves, teams that had phenomenal regular seasons, but could not produce in the postseason. Bills went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, didn't win 1. The Braves went to, I believe, 5 or 6 World Series in the 90s, only had 1 to show for it. I don't want to see this Capital team end up on that same line. So right now, this is my favorite to win the Stanley Cup. But then again, I would not be surprised if we end up getting another disappointment in the playoffs from this team. They're known to be choke artists, so hopefully it will not be the case for their wonderful fans. So as much as we hate their guts, and it pains us to admit it. So that's all there is to say. So 2 series underway, Rangers, Montreal, Columbus, Pittsburgh, 2 great series. We're both looking forward to it. So that's it. That's the end for Strictly Sports tonight. So MF, let's get your shout outs here, and then we'll wrap it up here with the future content and all that. So MF, it's all yours.
All right. First off, thank you to all the great fans out there for making the show as awesome as it is. Special shout out to the super fans out there. You guys know who you guys are. To my friends in junior high and high school days, love you guys. 2184 crew, as always. That's it. So I'll see you guys Monday night for another edition of Ridiculously Raw. If you guys are down at Buffalo Wild Wings in Seekonk on Route 6, come on down. I'll be down there about 10:15ish tomorrow night, just in time to see the first fight of the night. And me and my buddies, a couple of my buddies are going to be down there. We're going to be spending the evening watching UFC 210. Come on down, say hey. Would love to see you guys. You guys are, like I said, you guys are always the best fans in the world. Until then, you know the routine. Hug the hand pounds. I'm out. Good night, Anthony. Take it home.
Yeah, will do. As far as the 210 goes, count me out. But 211, I'm definitely thinking about that one. So
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
all right, sound good. So all right. So as far as the shout outs go, of course, a special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. You are the best fans in the world. Of course, a special shout out to the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Dee Dee Whitson, and the family. Of course, our other super fans and insiders, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our First Ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. Of course, our other friends out there, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, who just celebrated a birthday. Happy birthday, Jimmy Alden. And of course, Al Grayson and Rob Parsons on top of that, and the man himself, Derek Ferrero, who makes it all possible. All of our other shout outs as well. 6, 10, and 12, our personalities over there. And let me see. All of our friends from ESPN, Fox Sports 1, MLB Network, NHL Network, NFL Network, NBA TV, Status Terrell, Lizzie McCormick, Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson, and former co-host Megan Mooney, Mary Larson, and of course, my church family at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Bible study, 10 a.m. service. Special fellowship luncheon after service to honor the pastor's 26th anniversary of ministry. Looking forward to that. And Wednesday night Bible study at 7 and the whole 9 yards. So that's it for the shout outs. And of course, Monday night we got Ridiculously Raw as we continue on the road to Payback. And, you know, we'll see. Of course, the Superstar Shakeup. We'll see what happens with that. And then Tuesday night, Cerebral Smack Talk with MF on his channel, Racefan 95. The Shakeup will continue over there. Mikey's Mindset as well. And of course, my Tony's Take as well with 205 Live and Impact Wrestling and his Mikey's Mindset on Tuesday. And next Friday night, Strictly Sports. So that'll do it for this. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, Andy Floyer here with you, saying, you know the routine, everybody, thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up 44 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend. And until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For now, Anthony Florio. So long.